Hey, Marcus with MarcusNews.com. As you know, I'm 55 and I got this way healthy-wise because I eat the way nature intended. But there's somebody else in town who lives just a few miles down the road who does the same thing. And most of you know who he is. He's actually pretty famous. So I thought I'd have to come over here and introduce you to him. For those of you who don't know him and those of you who do, this will be a great experience to get to see him again. Anyway, his name is John Kohler, and he lives in a normal house. And he eats the food that he grows in his backyard. This is just a normal looking house in the front, but in the backyard, wait till you see. He grows the food that he eats, and he's raw vegan, and he juices and he eats the stuff. He doesn't cook it or anything. He just eats it right out of nature. So let me introduce you to this guy. Come here, John. Hi.
What's up, Marcus? Thanks for having me, man.
Nice meeting you. John, we finally meet. This is one of the two people that I really respect in the raw food world. This is where you live.
Right.
Just a normal house.
Yeah.
And we got to tell people, we're in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is in the desert where it gets to be 120 degrees in the summer and really cold in the wintertime. And if he can grow food in the desert, then you guys have no excuse. No excuse, because this is quite a feat to be able to pull this off. And wait till you see what he's growing in the backyard. So John, tell us just basically about your lifestyle.
Sure. I mean, I eat fruits and vegetables, like raw, uncooked.
It's the way nature intended.
Right. I juice them, I vacuum blend them, I cut them up and eat them, and it's not that hard. And my goal every day, I ask myself, John, how can you eat more fruits and vegetables today than you did yesterday? You know, so every meal, instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to grab some, I'm going to like, hey, what's in my garden? I could go out in the back, harvest some stuff, juice it up, chop it up, blend up a dressing, put it on, make a soup out of it, and eat it. I mean, it's not that hard, but people are so deviated from like, oh, I got to get something at the fast food joint, or I'm going to get some prepared food. So like, I prepare like 99% of what I eat fresh with my own two hands. And I mean, it does take time, so it's a commitment.
So you've got one of these looks where you can't tell who you are. You're like ageless. How old are you?
Well, I never disclose my age on my videos.
Oh, okay.
But I will say that I look about 10 years younger than I am, at least.
I think you look 20 years
well,
younger
15 to 10 to 15. Depends who you ask.
This guy's probably a lot older than he lets on. So let's go and have him show us what he's got hiding behind this normal looking little suburban house.
Hey Marcus, I want to let you know why I'm actually growing this food in my backyard that you guys will see in a minute, because, you know, food is probably one of the most important things that goes into your body. And unfortunately, when you go to the supermarket or even your local farmer's market, you don't have control. And I'm a guy that likes control, right? I like to control what I'm eating, like to choose what I'm eating, but more importantly, to choose how the food that I'm eating was grown, and more importantly, when it was harvested, right? And when you go to the store, basically it's been harvested when they wanted to, not when you wanted it. And also they've been using fertilizers, chemicals, pesticides, even organic pesticides on the foods, you know, and you don't know what they are. So you don't know how the food was raised. And so like in everything I'm growing that you guys will see in a minute, I know what was sprayed on it. Most cases, I just spray water on my food when there's bugs. I spray higher pressure water to blast the bugs off. It dislocates them, gets them confused, and they don't come back. And then sometimes I gotta keep repeating that. And I've just put out a whole bunch of beneficial insects, you know. I put out praying mantis eggs, and they'll hatch, and then I'll have all these little beneficial bugs that'll go around and eat the bad bugs. But once again, when you go to the store, you don't know what they're spraying on it. Also, the other thing that's important is, when was the food picked? You know, within 24 hours, certain nutrients in like broccoli could be lost, right? And some of the celery I got recently at the wholesale produce terminal was 30 days old. I mean, there was a date on the box, but when you buy produce at the store, you don't know when it was picked. And so having a backyard garden, I just come outside when I'm hungry, I harvest whatever I want, I bring it right inside and I eat it. It doesn't go in my fridge, you know, like that, because that lowers nutrition. So I'm basically doing this so I can have the highest quality and best health. And the final reason, super important, is I'm growing food literally money can't buy. Some of the things I'm growing in my backyard, I mean, you'd have to go to Crete, which is over in like Europe, to find, because it's Cretan rock lettuce. It grows in the wild. It's a wild food that I've brought in and I'm growing, and it does great here in the desert. You know, I'm growing ashitaba. You'd have to go to Japan to get ashitaba because you're not going to find it generally at your local, you know, Whole Foods to buy as a vegetable. I mean, it's related to celery. It has anti-cancer properties. It bleeds this yellow sap, which is amazing, and it's so delicious.
Well, show us the stuff.
Yeah,
you can talk about it as you're showing it. People want to see the goods. Look at this. This is his backyard, folks. This is just amazing. Check this out.
So all along this side I have like, I'm using my wall, so this is the wall that I want to hide because it doesn't look too good. But I'm growing lots of sugar snap peas up at this time of year, so I have all kinds of peas. I have lots of lettuce interplanted with carrots, some of the more wild greens. I also have a lot of edible flowers, you know, all kinds of colorful pigments. This is a brassica bed that had cauliflower and broccoli and blue kale. I have tree collards in the back, some peppers that are kind of dried from last year, and I have Asian greens, all kinds of stuff happening back here.
Can you believe this is a backyard, folks? This is a normal suburban backyard. It looks like you're out in the country. And look at this. Check out the amount of lettuce this guy has. This is insane.
I have a couple fruit trees there, and during the season I have non-sweet fruits, you know, like tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that. But I mean, I think really where it's at is vegetables, right? If you got a lot of space, fruit trees are great. The challenge I have with fruit trees is they take a lot of space and they only produce generally one time a year. So you're waiting for your oranges to come in. And if you don't have a lot of space, like I'd rather just go buy some good quality oranges at the wholesale produce terminal or from farmers at the farmer's market, right? And the greens are so expensive, right? A pound of oranges could be like 99 cents, but you know, a bunch of kale's like $3. And how much is a bunch of kale? 6 leaves. And like on that tree there, I could harvest 6 leaves off that one, 6 leaves off that one, 6 leaves off that one. And the cool thing is when I harvest them, they're not gone. Like if you buy produce at the store, you eat it, it's gone. I planted a tree once, one of these tree collards, I could harvest greens every day because as I'm harvesting, it's continued to grow, especially due to the, you know, nice sunny weather we get here in the desert. Fruits are good, don't get me wrong. I eat some fruits every day. But the greens, in my opinion, are a better food, in my opinion, because it's easy to eat fruits. Fruits taste really good, but greens, most people don't eat greens because they don't taste good. And the thing I want to say to that is I want you to taste some of the stuff in my backyard, Marcus, because when you harvest the baby greens fresh and you eat them, it's such a different experience than if you get stuff at the store that's been picked and shipped and it's like several weeks old. It starts tasting bitter and nasty. Like I can't eat kale from the store unless I'm traveling and it's an extreme emergency because it tastes so crappy compared to like kale out of my garden that's actually so sweet, delicate, and tender. The biggest challenge with the climate here is that it's arid. So that means it's dry. Like moisture is sucked out of you just living. So that's the biggest challenge to overcome. You know, some places are really humid and it might be a little bit easier to grow there on some levels, but also harder on others. But you know, just proper watering, right? And having good soil. That's probably the most important thing, having good soil that'll hold some of the moisture, that has a lot of organic matter. I use coconut coir in here, also some peat moss that holds some moisture in there, and then water appropriately. So like actually on this side of my yard, like if you look on this bed over here, you'll see no irrigation. You're like, John, how do you water? Well, I don't come out here every day and hand water, except if they're new planting. It's all underneath the ground. And so this is all subsoil irrigation, so I don't get some of the extra evaporation. So I'm conserving water, feeding water to where the plants need it right at the root zone. In addition, I could have my irrigation system come on like every hour for just 3 seconds, and just to aerate the root zone to like encourage microbial growth and allow my plants to grow better.
So do you just like pick the stuff and throw in a bowl and eat it, or juice it? What do you do?
Yeah, no, Marcus, I'm not like super like just pick it and throw it in a bowl. I usually come in, take it, harvest it, go inside, I wash it. You know, I mean, if we didn't have all these airplanes going overhead and chemtrails or who knows what's in the sky, if I lived out in nature, I probably wouldn't wash it personally because I know what went on these plants, but I'm concerned about spray, so I wash it and then I'll like, you know, chop it up, put it in a bowl, make a dressing, and I'll eat it. It's not hard. You know, sometimes like the other day I juiced like 5 heads of lettuce. Why did I juice 5 heads? Because I got so much lettuce and I juiced 5 heads of the red lettuce to get some of the anthocyanin pigments in me, you know, along with some cucumbers and celery and some apples, you know, a little bit of apples for sweetness. The garden, like your life, is always transforming and changing. So I'm out here like, you know, every day almost when I'm home, working on it and taking care, replanting certain areas because basically there's a lot to tend to. Unlike this bed, which is an annual bed, so I have to replant this bed every year or every season. This bed is what I call a perennial bed. So these tree collards I planted like over 1.5 years ago, and literally these tree collards, unlike a standard collard greens I would grow on the annual bed, These guys will just grow year round. They'll live for multiple years. My tallest one that ever grew was like 12 feet tall, so I have nice stakes. And I mean, this is just like a tree. This is probably one of the most important vegetables you could grow, because I could just come out here and pick off, you know, the greens, and I could juice these collard greens, and you know, and I want to encourage you guys to eat the stems. They're really rich in nutrition, and actually I met a lady the other day that actually feeds the stems to her dogs, because, you know, it's better than eating bones. It's the stems of the greens have lots of nutrients in there that you're not normally eating. But normally I juice them. These are rare. It's you got to get them from cuttings. You can't buy them at a local store. And if you get the seeds, they're not true tree collards. They'll be a hybrid. But yeah, these are my most valuable plant, because when they do go to flower, which is rare, they'll stop flowering and then they'll go back to just growing a tree.
How did you score it?
So yeah, I mean, I get my plants from all over. When I go on trips, I bring back plants with me. So these plants are actually originated from LA.
So instead of getting souvenirs like tourists do, you bring back plants.
I bring back plants and exotic fruits to eat for later. TSA always stops me when I have, you know, natural fertilizer, soil amendments, and plants. They want to inspect it, and that's when I'm inside the country. Now, outside the country, you're not supposed to bring in any kind of plants or plant materials with you. That's like illegal.
So seeds would be smuggling, right?
Yeah, smuggling seeds, yeah. So, but a lot of times you can just order them online and they'll send them to you, and then maybe they'll get confiscated, maybe they won't. I want to encourage you guys to like grow edible flowers. So along this whole border, like every, I don't know, 8 inches, I have edible flowers. So all this time of year, I have pansies and violas. And the reason for that is because you could just go ahead and just pick the little flowers here, and you could put them on top of salads, add them to your soups, or just pick them and eat them. And the flowers are really cool, man. They taste like one of those like little hard candies you'd get when you were a kid, with like the floral notes, but they don't have like that sugary sweetness. And the reason why I like them so much is because of the pigments, you know. So I actually got some like really like black, deep purple like pansies, which are really cool, and they taste great, and they're nutritious for you. And unfortunately, most people don't eat flowers, and it's not something you could easily buy, because once you pick a flower off the plant, it wilts really fast. So, you know, you pretty much got to grow them.
Right.
And then and then this plant is really cool, Marcus. You got to try it. This one's actually called Ricardi's picroides, and this is actually from Malta. So that's like over in Europe, and it's a wild food. And if you look at the leaves, let me pick a leaf here. If you look at a leaf, it looks like, you know, pretty much like a dandelion. And we know, like, when you eat a dandelion, you know, they're kind of bitter, but I want you to taste this, Marcus. Tell me what you think about it.
It's great. I like it.
Yeah, so that actually is it's a wild food, and it's kind of like sweet. You know, to me it reminds me of lettuce, but it's not exactly like lettuce. It's a just nice mild green that.
Salad out of that.
Yeah, I could just come out and pick salad. So I mean, I only have 2 plants right now, started from seed, which were really hard to get. And now it's going to flower, so I'm going to let it go to flower and set seed, and hopefully the seeds will just blow around in my garden, and I'll just have these coming up as weeds, which is, I know what you're into, weeds. And that's kind of my kind of garden, where things just grow up and they blow all over, and then they just come up, so I don't have to do anything. This is my peppers that are left over from last year. One of the cool things about the desert, although it can be hard to grow things, it's easy to dry things. The peppers literally just dry on the vine, so I didn't have to take them inside and dehydrate them or anything like that. And then because we had a mild winter this year, this guy in the back survived, which basically I have lots of this stuff. And actually this is called the Genera Procumbens, or longevity spinach. So this is they've have studies on this, shows that it helps to lower your blood sugar and all that kind of stuff. But I'd say for lowering your blood sugar, you want to stop eating the foods that cause your blood sugar problems in the first place, and get on natural foods.
Right.
But I just, you know, every plant is like its own chemical factory. Plants, you know, when it's exposed to the sun, has nutrients in the soil, it makes chemical properties within it just naturally to defend itself from the heat, defend itself from pests and bugs. And it's these chemicals that I want to eat, because these are what's called the phytochemicals and the phytonutrients, and the zeaxanthin, the lutein, and the anthocyanin, and all different kinds of pigments in the foods that are healthy for us to eat. So literally, my garden is my chemical factory, my natural chemical factory, so I could benefit from the plants and all the different kinds of plants that make their own chemicals.
Right, those 3 things you just mentioned are really good for the eyes. A lot of people are stuck on their computers all day wearing glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
This is like heaven in Vegas.
Amazing. It's like a forest.
Yeah, this is the other half of my yard that actually went in first here, and just have a lot more stuff over on this side.
Where do people who want to get into this, how do they start? What do you suggest?
So, I mean, I have a YouTube channel, Growing Your Greens, and on that YouTube channel I have over 1,300 episodes teaching people how to grow their own food, where I visit farms and share with you guys what I do. You know, like if you guys living here in Vegas, check my videos on my channel. You'll see where I got my soil, where I recommend getting your soil. You know, I have videos on where I go to the nursery to buy my plant starts and bring them in. I have seed catalog reviews where I share with you guys, you know, where I buy my seeds, if I do buy seeds. Generally, for me, it's a lot easier to start with plant starts because it's a lot easier to do that. But, you know, rareseeds.com is a really good place to buy your seeds. Johnny Seeds, you know, I like that place too. And I mean, the whole thing is just start. Don't think I got to get the right seeds, and if I don't got the right seeds, I can't do it. I mean, go down to your local Home Depot. Many Home Depots are now selling organic plants to put in your garden. That being said, even if you can't get organic, right? Once you get the plant, then you get to raise it organic. You know, it's like if you adopt a crack baby, right? And that's a bad analogy. If you adopt a crack baby, they didn't have the best life before you adopted it, but once you adopt them, you know you're going to take care of them the best you can. And the plants are like that too, right? Even if you can't start off with the most organic plant, start off with one, plant it, and then take care of it organically.
That's great. Yeah, this is so inspirational. The fact that you're doing this in the desert, I think, is quite an accomplishment, and it should show people that no matter where you live, you can live in the city, anywhere, and pull this off.
Yeah. Some of my favorite beds though here are right here. Like this is an herb bed, so I have like oregano. I never have to buy oregano again. And what I like to teach people, Marcus, is don't try to grow everything. Just try to grow like a handful of things, especially if you're new. You know, grow the easiest things like oregano, like mint here in the desert, like stevia, really easy, like shiso. Those plants are super easy to grow here in the desert, and then start off with those so you'll never have to buy those again, right? Then start adding to your repertoire if you're learning any new skill. Like over here I have my Egyptian walking onions. These guys grow 365 days a year. I never have to buy any kind of onions, right? I could harvest the greens for spring onions, for green onions. I could harvest these flowering tops. They're starting to flower now. I could eat the flowers. I put those in soups. You could harvest the roots under there for the little bulbs. And onions are a power food. You know, they're anti-cancer and anti-aging. And they're really easy. So these are called Egyptian walking onions, and these are a perennial onion compared to a standard onion that's more of an annual that you got to keep replanting every season. So I really try to, promote some of these easy to grow perennials, like my tree collards too. I mean, oh, and then here, this is another one. This is called wild arugula. So I have standard arugula in the back, but this is wild arugula. So this one I planted last year. It grew last year. It kind of went to flower pretty fast, and then I cut it back to the ground, and then now this spring it just popped up, and now I have lots of new growth, like nice wild arugula just to pick and eat. A little bit stronger than the standard arugula in the back, but a unique flavor. And arugula, it's another power food. I mean, and sometimes, my garden is always work in progress. If you look at this bed, to me, this bed looks totally terrible. To you, it might look like all right, but this is basically spinach. And growing standard spinach in the desert can be quite hard. It bolts really fast. So like this is going to flower. The cool thing about this, you can smell the flowers, and they actually have a really nice scent to them. I really like the smells in my garden, but I can still pick and eat the spinach here. And this is the kind of spinach you buy like in, the 1 pound packs at the store. But instead of this, I'm growing Malabar spinach in the summertime, which is an easy spinach to grow. The other one you saw, the longevity spinach, another easy one to grow in the summertime. You could also grow Egyptian spinach that just loves this weather here.
So do you basically eat just mainly this stuff that we're seeing in the yard here? Or do you buy groceries? Do you add to this?
Right, so as much as I grow a lot of things, right, my goal in my diet is to expand the varieties and things that I eat. So if I was one of those locavores, and hey, I think locavores are great, that just want to eat in their local area, I think that's very restricting to your diet, because now you're only going to be eating a certain subset of foods. And so while I eat as much of my locally grown backyard food as possible, I also supplement with other things. So for example, like celery. I have some celery growing here, but it never really grows into that nice celery bunch, right? And it'd be not feasible for me economically to grow celery because it grows pretty slow. It takes a lot of time. So I go and buy my celery, and then I combine the celery I bought with the kale and other greens in my juices. because the greens are a lot easier to grow than the celery. Maybe if I had acreage, like 10 acres, I'd grow rows of celery so I could have all the celery I need, but I don't have that. So, and I also grow a lot of fruits since I don't grow, you know, the majority of my fruits. I do grow the majority of my vegetables, and aside from certain vegetables that I don't grow, you know, I don't buy vegetables.
So what's a typical day for you as far as what you eat?
So in the morning when I wake up, I basically will get hydrated. So generally I like to drink either water, or more preferably coconut water, or even better is like cucumber celery juice. So that's what I've had to this point. And then the next meal of the day, I might have like a green smoothie, a meal of berries or some fresh fruit. And then maybe like for dinner, I'll have like a salad, or I'll have like a raw food soup. So like I like to juice a lot of vegetables to make a soup base. So I could juice like celery and have a celery soup base instead of using like water, which is like has no nutrients in there. The celery has plenty of nutrients. And then I just basically blend in a handful of nuts, some kimchi or sauerkraut, some mushroom powder, some hot peppers that are dried from my garden for some flavors. And then I'll basically come out to my garden, harvest onions, I'll harvest cilantro, I'll harvest, you know, Thai soy, harvest lettuce, chop it all up into little bits, and then just basically put it in the soup. And then that's basically dinner. So, I mean, it's not that hard.
Well, you're obviously not skinny and emaciated, which people relate to, you know, people that eat basically greens and vegetables. So they're going to ask, where are you getting your well, not just protein,
calories.
Right? Yeah, your calories, your oils, your healthy fats, the thick, dense stuff that keeps you plumped up.
So yeah, actually I got one here for you. I made a juice yesterday. It was actually cactus fruit, California grown coconut milk juice. And so that, I got some coconut. Now I don't drink that every day. Cactus fruits just came in season and they could be a bit sweeter this time of year. But I do have healthy fats, and for, you know, I don't like to eat oil. So I do eat whole food sources of fat. So I'd rather eat coconuts, whole coconuts that I could crack in half, shuck. You know, I turn it into coconut milk and then add it into my juices, all fresh. You know, I don't buy anything in packages. It's a lot of labor to do my diet, but I love it, enjoy it, and I reap the benefits, right? And so handful of nuts. I don't like to do oil, except there's one exception, is the algae oil for the DHA. That's, you know, I did have a little bit of that last night. So for example, like last night for a snack, I had some freeze-dried corn, and then I had some kale chips that actually I grew and made in my dehydrator. Mixed those together with a little bit of DHA oil, and then like a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and some chili powder, or no, curry powder mixed in. So that was like a nice little like snack before my dinner.
And your dinner was what?
Oh, my dinner. Well, my dinner last night, I wasn't hungry actually, so I had a juice. I had celery cucumber juice for dinner last night because it was getting kind of late and I didn't want to burden my body with a big heavy meal. So like I always like listen to my body. If I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to like, John, but you got so much stuff, you got to eat it. And I'm not going to like force extra stuff in. You know, I think the other thing is I really compress the amount of calories I eat in my juices. So for example, like if I drink a 32-ounce juice, which I may drink 1 or 2 a day, you know, a 32-ounce juice has 4 pounds of vegetables in it. So that, I mean, that's still not a lot. That's like 400 calories. But you know, I'm not like running marathons, so I don't need a ton of calories. And so I think, you know, a lot of people in raw foods, especially if you're trying to eat a lot of vegetables, could tend to undereat. I also eat fruit meals, you know, so yesterday I had actually jackfruit as my main fruit meal, and then as the juice I actually had the cactus fruit coconut milk, which, you know, was plenty of calories in my opinion.
Well, you're doing great, John. I mean, just looking at you can tell you're doing things right.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you. So your website isokraw.com?
Yeah, so I teach raw foods on my OK Raw channel. So I have videos related to raw foods, eating healthier. To learn how to garden, I have a channel, growingyourgreens.com. And that's where I teach gardening to people around the world. I visit farms around the world, some really cool things, and I get to show what other people are doing besides just me, because as much as this is amazing, what so many people that I get to visit are doing are even more amazing, in my opinion, on some respect. And I hope to have a big acreage and farm to even be bigger, grow bigger in the future. And then my final YouTube channel is youtube.com/raw foods, and that's where I demonstrate, test, and compare all the different raw food equipment, such as slow juicers, vacuum blenders, dehydrators, so that you guys get the right appliance for you. Because, you know, to me, really, that allows me to condense the volume of fruits and vegetables I could eat into a smaller amount. That makes it more manageable, because I'm just not going to sit there and eat big salads each and every day, but I will drink a fresh juice to benefit from the greens in my garden.
Another good thing is that you're living proof that this works. And that's good. People want proof. They want to see, well, show me a person that actually lives this way. Well, here you go, folks. There he is, right there. There's the guy. Thank you, John. You're an inspiration to a lot of people. And you gave me your websites, and well, thank you. We'll see you next time. Be sure to check out John's websites and subscribe to this channel for all kinds of inspirational videos, like the one on the restaurant in Colorado that makes its food from weeds and wild plants, or the vegan strongman that eats just one meal a day, or watch how beautiful a home childbirth is. All kinds of beautiful people and life-changing information on this channel. Subscribe and see you in a few days when the next video comes out.
Because those are like really super protective, like 10 times more protective than like, and all that stuff goes into your skin and it gives you literally sunblock from the inside. And so like bananas don't have the nutrition, the antioxidant, protective power that like